And we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I am your host, The Chosen Lawyer, and we are here for episode number 9 with a good friend of mine and a colleague. We work extensively together, and it's actually even though we work together, we talk on the phone, we email, it's our first time actually meeting. That's the new reality. Miss Cara Hirsch. Cara, welcome to The Chosen Life.
Thank you for having me. It's great to finally meet you, since we have so many conversations, email, phone, but we've never actually been able to do this either virtually or in person. So it's fantastic.
I love it. So background story-wise, my longest standing client, I was working with him since about the mid-2000s. We actually worked together for, I think, definitely over a decade, maybe even like 14 years before we actually met each other. This
Wild.
was way pre-COVID, pre-virtual world, everything else. Just busy guy, business person. So we were constantly doing corporations, real estate transactions, all sorts of stuff. But we spoke on the phone a couple of times, but everything was always email. He's just a very busy guy. That's the way it is. And then we finally met for the first time, and we became good friends. We started going for dinners, lunches together. So it's incredible how the relationships can evolve. But so many of us, it's no longer meeting in boardrooms and face-to-face. This is as face-to-face as it gets these days for most people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think at least we have this option now, right? Back, when you were saying you just started working with the client in 2000s, I mean, we had these things, but we really didn't. Like FaceTime kind of was the first one that came out. But I think having the option to Zoom and Teams has just made, life easier to keep together with loved ones that are across the world. You're able to still see them. So it's a great option to have. And I think we're very lucky given where kind of technology has gone.
Absolutely. So just a little background on yourself before we get into you is the fact that you are in real estate as I am. I'm a real estate lawyer. You are a realtor. And It's funny because in my industry, you were using DocuSign forever, it seems. And we were under this Stone Age system where people were printing off papers, signing them, scanning them, and then shredding them. And in the new paperless world, it seemed so obsolete. And in my firm, for example, kormans, finally, just recently, we started using a system. We weren't just meeting people virtually, like over Zoom, the way we're doing it right now, but we were also now starting to sign people up electronically. And we would send them a link on their phone. We'd be meeting like this, going over the paperwork. And then all of a sudden, we'd be signing on the phone when prompted. So people were doing hand signatures, hand initials. And we said, finally, we are in the real world. So from everything that's going on in the world, at least it called for progression in our respective industries. And now people can made their lives much easier. So for example, you could be in Panama right now and I could be in Iceland. And it's like we're side by side.
I wish I was in Panama right now. I'm not going to lie.
Have you ever been?
I haven't been. No, I've been close to the border, but never actually in Panama. But I heard it's lovely.
So I've been now, I think 3 times. Heavily recommend. There's a huge Canadian population out there.
That's what I heard.
So you're like out there at the resorts and the all-inclusive, and you feel like you could be in Jamaica or Bahamas or anywhere. But as soon as you get out into the main city, you're like, wow, they have the infrastructure. There's a huge Canadian population out there. And as I was walking, I found the huge Jewish population, actually. So me being a Jewish background, wow. I walk by and I see some Hasidic rabbis, and I see a deli, I see a Judaica store. And they have a huge Jewish population as well. So it's amazing, and I wouldn't picture. And I said, how did you guys find this place? And they said, how did we not find this place?
Yeah. So they're smart. They got out, they left, they went to the warm weather. The same thing. We were in St. Martin, my husband and I, in January. We've been a few times, and they have a very big Canadian population, as well as a whole Jewish community there as well.
Amazing. So we're going to be talking about this as far as luxury living goes very shortly. And so background on yourself. As well, you are an entrepreneur. You started up Hirsch Associates. Please tell us more about Hirsch Associates and about yourself and what you're doing in this fabulous world.
So I was born and raised actually into real estate, originally from Winnipeg, Manitoba. So very different market over there. My background is in hospitality. I started management at the age of 18 with Joey Restaurants.
Joey?
Joey, yeah. The Don Mills was the first one here in Toronto. So I actually opened that restaurant with the company.
Yes.
Fast forward, I was in my early 20s. They sent out kind of their top people and sent us for 6 weeks. Oh, let's see, this is when you have a dog. 6 weeks to Toronto, put us up in Yorkville, and had this allowance. And you can imagine being in your early 20s coming from Winnipeg, which is small town mentality. coming here and my eyes were just big and bright and it was awesome. So we were here for 6 weeks and I ended up meeting with someone that a family friend knew, got into real estate, was offered a position. Didn't know if I was going to take it. 3 weeks later, I showed up with nothing but my bags, found an apartment, and was here and started in real estate. And that was over 12 years ago now. Fast forward, did a lot of, pre-construction is main, that's what we do. We're a listing brokerage. So worked with this company for just over 9 years. And in 2019, decided it was time to kind of step out on my own, built the relationships, wanted to do things a little bit differently, consulting as well as listing. So we started 2019 with just me. I was just consulting. Fast forward 2020, I hired my first team member. We kind of started growing the business. And since 2020, really mostly last year in 2021, we started the brokerage and we now have I have 10 staff, team members, and we are a full listing brokerage as well as consulting. So we work with primarily a lot of the top builders in the city. We do high rise, mid rise, stack towns, low rise, and we kind of all around the GTA. So we'll come from, as soon as a developer buys a piece of land, they come to us, what can we price it for? Then they kind of tie it up. Then we start doing floor plan design with the architects. What should we do? How many 1 bedrooms? How many 2 bedrooms? And we go fast forward all the way to sales, pricing the whole building, launching the building. We go as far as doing color selections for some of our clients, as well as all the leases and the assignments in the building as well. So we're kind of a full service brokerage, and we really tailor our offering based on what the client is looking for.
And when I got to working with you, whenever I work with anybody, I research them. I try to figure out who they are, what they're about. So I do all that internet snooping. And what I thought to myself was, this is a woman who's living the chosen life, or appears to be living the chosen life, and is helping others get their chosen lives. And being involved with luxury and luxury living and getting people into luxury living, that's what, that's an attraction as far as I see from clients' point of view. And we've worked with some high-end clients together and seeing how they get into their homes, and something we'll talk about momentarily, but certainly, you're doing a good thing in helping people, certainly. And we'd love to hear more about the stories. But before we get into that, we heard, so let's jump into our first topic. I'm going to mix it up on you because I heard something in the background and you said that was a dog barking. So I want to introduce you to my sidekick.
Aww.
This is Ollie. And
Ollie.
This is Ollie.
Shih Tzu?
She's a Shih Tzu, 1000%. And you can find her on Instagram, Chosen Ollie. She's been up so far an hour for the day, so she's already exhausted because she sleeps about 21 hours a day. So I'm gonna put her back on my lap here.
She's so cute. How old is she?
Ollie is gonna be turning 9 this year. I adopted her. She purrs like a cat, actually. She sounds like she's angry, but her angry growl is the same as her purring growl.
I have the same. I have a French bulldog and he always purrs and people think that he's growling, but really it's just his breathing.
So you and I, in our lines of work relating to real estate, I do as well corporate and running a law firm and helping people with their transactions. We're also pet parents. Yep. You're a pet mama and I'm a pet daddy. And, we love our dogs. And that's one of the things we also bonded about when we talked about. So in this day and age, as a professional raising a dog, especially if you have a family, if you have a spouse, if you have children, you have house responsibilities, there's so much going on from the personal side. And never mind the fact that all of a sudden you own a business, you're running the business, you're helping clients, you're their concierge 24/7, you're their rabbi, priest, therapist, everything. They want everything. At
all hours.
They want every interview. They're like, oh, they'll call you 11 o'clock. I'm so sorry for calling. And I tell them, you're not sorry. If you were sorry, you wouldn't do it. But you want to do it, which is fine. But don't apologize for it. So we make ourselves so available. And yet, when it comes down to it, it's the love of our pets. So in topic 1 today, I want to talk about how balancing being a pet parent as a professional and how do you do it? So first of all, how many pets do you have? And
I have 3 dogs. So we have a busy house, no kids. So we joke that we did everything backwards. So we have 3 dogs. I have teenage brothers that lived with us for 8 months. So we had 3 dogs in the house, 2 teenage boys that we were feeding, and no kids. So we always joke, my parents are like, you're doing this all backwards. So we have 3, 2 of them are older. So 9, actually 10, sorry, and 7.
And what breeds?
So oldest one's a French bulldog. The middle one is a Old English. And then we just ended up fostering and then adopting a bully XL just recently. So she's the youngest. She's just over a year old.
Amazing.
And it's a hectic house. So feeding time, we always laugh because feeding time is chaotic here in the mornings and in the evenings. But it's funny, they all kind of coexisted for a little while because the older, I mean, obviously the puppy and they were older, they're kind of like, that annoying younger sibling. But now the middle one and the youngest one are obsessed with each other. Like they absolutely adore each other. So they just sit there and like lick each other and cuddle with each other all day long. So it's pretty cute.
I love it. So now your husband, is he in the related industry to you or something totally different?
Yes, he's in real estate as well. He does like resales. He works as an outside agent. So his life is similar to mine, where it's kind of like you say, like clients are calling you at 11 o'clock or 9 in the morning or 8 in the morning. It's, you work around their schedule.
How come you're not working together?
Because we want to keep our work separate from her.
I thought you were going to say, because I want to keep my marriage, but
that too.
I've had a lot of clients where they come to me and they tell me, we work together, we live together, we're together 24/7, we vacation together. I said, how long do you expect this marriage to last exactly?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, this is the best thing ever. And then 5 years, 10 years, they're like, they've moved on to a different company. We needed a bit more space. And, it's tough, right? Because, you want to spend a lot of time together, but also you need to have your own interests and you want to have your free time with your group and his group, so it's definitely a balancing act. So that's why it's good that when I hear that, I'm energized for you, because it's good that you are in the same industry. So you understand one another, but you also got that separation. It's a good balance.
we keep work life pretty separate. I think it's important, we both believe of having our own friends and doing our own things as well. For a very big, we did long distance for almost 5 years of our relationship. So for us, this is actually during the pandemic, the funny thing, this is the most we've actually spent time together, because usually our schedules were opposite, or we did long distance, we didn't see each other. Because when he first came here, he was finishing school, so he was in the restaurant industry. So I was in bed by the time he got home, and when I woke up, he was still sleeping.
It's not Joey, right? You didn't marry Joey from Joey Restaurants.
No, I didn't marry Joey from Joey Restaurants.
I'm not sure. I just got to check.
No, but we did. That's how we met, actually, is at Joey. But so we had opposite schedules, and then come pandemic, we spent all of our time together, and I thought, we both looked at each other in the beginning. We're like, oh, this could be really dangerous. And you know what? We've been okay, I think, because we're okay with being in the same house and watching TV separately and doing our own thing and spending time together, but then also doing our own thing, which I think for us has been really an important balance in our life.
What do you consider long distance for you? Because I've had people that say to me, you live in Vaughan and I live in downtown Toronto, so that I'm not doing that long distance relationship. So what is for you a long distance relationship?
He was in Winnipeg and I was here. So, it was a 2.5 hour flight.
But if you can't jump in the car and get there in an hour or less, that's long distance. I agree with you. How many years married?
We have been married 6 years.
6 years. Okay. So married 6 years, and let's focus on our pride and joys, our fur babies. So now you're telling me this, and I'm thinking it's even greater balancing act. Like for myself, for example, with Ollie, it's really, really easy. She just goes everywhere with me. Like, because she's a Shih Tzu, she's non-shedding, she's quiet. Like, even forget that she's there half the time. So like, she's still here right now. She's still on my lap.
Yeah, you would never know. My dogs are definitely not that quiet.
Like literally, like anybody will let me bring her almost anywhere. Seriously. That's awesome. And she needs that affection. She needs that attention. She doesn't want to be by herself, and that's cool. And I have the luxury that I can bring her with me, and it makes her happy, makes me happy. And I have a 16-year-old son, and she's either with me or him 99% of the time. So one dog, life is easy. Yeah. You're talking now 3 dogs, different ages, and then for the 2 of you and long distance. How do you balance these dogs? And then on top of it, your respective industries, which you can get called out on a moment's notice. You can be a new project's going up. The builder needs you. You're showing units. You're managing your staff. How do you manage that and still keep your dogs, your babies happy and balance life that way?
So when we did long distance, we only had one at the time. So it's a little bit easier. And I had a very good friend of mine who was very actively involved in and Rue is the oldest one's life. So I had a very good support system of friends. When we would do a launch, my dogs are very privileged. They went to doggy daycare. They grew up going to doggy daycare. I felt it was important to also, socialize them with other dogs. So when I would do a launch and my husband wasn't here at the time, he would be there Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. I would drop him off in the morning. A lot of times if I had events in the evening, I'd rush home, pick him up early, feed him, and then leave to go back, and I drive halfway across the city to do that. Yes. But at least that way, if I knew he was at daycare all day, he was tired. Like by the time I got home, he's pooped, like he's ready to sleep. Done. So it was okay. We got the second dog when my husband was here. So then that made it a little bit easier. They did do daycare probably about 3 times a week. If we were busy, we would keep them in there. And then fast forward to the third dog. So we'll say going from 1 dog to 2 dogs is not that challenging. I have to say it really, you're already going through the motions. Going from 2 dogs to 3 dogs is definitely more challenging. Our senior dogs have mobility issues. One broke his leg, the other one broke his shoulder. The Frenchie has back problems because they're known for having back issues. Yes. And then the dog that we fostered from Forever Able Rescue, they actually take in cleft palate puppies. So they're born with cleft palates. And what happens when they're born with that is they actually don't feed off of the mothers properly. And a lot of times they pass away when they're new, like when they're first born. So they take them in babies, like a few hours old, they'll have them, they kind of, bring them back to health, they tube feed them, and then they do surgeries. They have vets that can do the surgery to close their cleft palate. So, come COVID, things were different for us because I'm used to going out, I'm used to being busy, and if I had it my way, I'd have 10 dogs and cats and everything, a farm of animals.
And just have them roam.
Everything. So, I kind of convinced my husband, I'm like, let's just foster her. She needs love. It's not her fault. So we took her in, she had her surgery with no intentions secretly, I always knew that we were going to adopt her, but he definitely did not plan to. And, she was on a feeding tube for 3 weeks. So fast forward to being an entrepreneur, being in meetings, thank God for Zoom, but we would be tag teaming, probably 5 to 6 times a day, tube feeding her through like a tube went through her throat so that she could eat. And we got so good at it that we could do it by ourselves after. So he'd be taking calls and one-handed tube feeding her. I'd be on a Zoom while tube feeding my dog at the same time. Well, yeah. And then, we had her for, I think it was about 5-6 months, and it was time for her to be up for adoption. And at that point,
she's too attached. She's staying. She ain't going nowhere.
You can't. When you spend that kind of time and nursing, an animal like that closely, and then her and the other middle dog love each other. I was like, we just couldn't do it. So she's a part of the family, and it's funny. Dogs, they all have their own personalities. And when you have 3, you really see it because each one is so different from one another. But it's a balancing act. I would say if I didn't have my husband, there's no way I could probably have 3 dogs by myself. It just wouldn't be possible.
So this is a good segue because the idea I had in my head. So I've always loved dogs. I'm a big fan of animals in general. I think animals are better than humans in a lot of ways.
Agreed.
That's the purest love that you can receive.
So true.
And over the last couple of years, you hear a lot of stories of how many people adopted dogs, for example. They call them COVID dogs, right? And people have these COVID adoptions. And what I'm seeing right now, if you go to look on Kijiji, for example, and think of any breed you want. So it kind of saddens me because on the one hand, during the peak time when dogs weren't available, people were actually adopting dogs from breeders and reselling them for profit. Yeah. And I said, this isn't a watch, that you went to go buy from Burke's and you're going to go and resell it. This is a living creature. So I had a lot of difficulties with that. I wasn't a fan of that at all. I thought, honestly, I think it's gross. I think it's just gross to resell a dog for profit. They should come directly from the breeder, and people should be able to direct with the breeder and up them properly. Rather than sketchy buying them out of a backyard and I got them recently. Don't worry about it. They're good. Here's everything. Don't worry. Yeah. I'm not the original breeder, but don't worry about it. I don't love that shadiness of it. But regardless, people adopt. They love their pet the same way they would if they got them from the breeder directly. All good. But now all of a sudden you're seeing the prices have dropped heavily on pets. So the market has crashed. You know, people saying, when is the market going to crash on cars? And when is the market going to crash on watches? Especially when is the market going to crash on real estate?
Yeah.
But guess what? The market has already crashed on pets. So that pet that you could have adopted, a brand new puppy for 3,500, you could probably have them now for 1,500, 2,000. But not only that, there's a whole bunch that are 6 months, 9 months, a year and a half that are now needing rehome because people, their lives are changing. They're no longer working 24/7 at home. Some of them are working hybrids, and they went back to the office entirely, and they're saying, I can't do this anymore. This isn't working out for me. And I feel for these pets. You know, they didn't ask for this. It's not their fault. And when I got Ollie, for example, I rehomed her at 6 years old. I was actually her third family, and circumstances had that she needed rehoming, and she came with me. But you know, my circumstances, first of all, I have her 24/7, so it's easy. She doesn't shed. That's easy.
Yeah.
When she came home, she found her corner, went to sleep, and like she came trained, life is easy. But you know, people adopt, for example, a puppy, and they're realizing puppy ain't that easy. You know,
No.
puppy is a lot of work.
They're a lot of work. Yeah.
It's a 24/7 job as far as teaching them, as far as toilet training them, as far as habits go. And it's just not an easy part, you know. And I said to myself, I'm never going to get a puppy because I don't want to go through that puppy stage, quite frankly. I love an older dog, and I want to be able to give them a home that they wouldn't have otherwise. But there are professionals that'll be listening to this right now, and they're saying, okay, I think I'm in that boat. So it could be a single person, could be a family, and they have the one dog, and they're saying, I don't know if it's a good idea for us. Should we keep it, not keep it, keep him or her? And, you know, I'm hoping for them to hear through our message today. We are two professionals, different spectrums. 3 dogs, 1 dog, family, single, and we still find a way to be able to give a good lifestyle to our pets. And if people are not sure, you know, I always tell them, you know, if you can find a way to keep your pet, always keep your pet, please. You know, there's got to be a balancing act. There's got to be a way, whether you're doggy daycare or you're getting extra support. But regardless, you know, when you wake up in that morning till the time you go to sleep, you have this schedule in your mind of what's going on with your pets, right? You can't just, everything's built around them now.
And I always say, and listen, I don't have children, so I obviously can't compare it to that, but I do think it is a lot like having kids. Like, you have to schedule your day around, you know, they can't sit in a kennel for 15, 16 hours a day. Sure, some people kennel their dogs when they go to work for 8 hours. Okay, but then you got to take them for walks, or you got to, you know, they're energized. You got to get that energy out. And it's funny you say that, because when the beginning, when this whole boom of adopting puppies happened, that's exactly what my husband and I said to each other, is just watch, because people go into things and then they don't realize how much work it entails. And the quickest thing is, oh, I'll just give up the dog. And it's, you know, we have, you know, I adopted the first one, the Frenchie. He came with a lot of behavioral issues. We've spent a lot of time and a lot of money on working it out. Now, he's 10 years old now. Is there some things I'm going to be able to fix? No. Like, but I know how he is. I know when he's reactionary. I know certain settings that he can go to or not. You know, we're responsible in that sense. The puppy is, you know, she needs training. Like, we've spent time to teach her, and having other dogs obviously really helps as well. But you have to take time to, and you see dogs, and I feel for people who they struggle because, never mind, now everyone's been home and now they're going back to work. Separation anxiety, I'm sure, for a lot of these pets is through the roof.
Absolutely.
Because they're used to having them home all day.
Even when you're with the pet 24/7, you know that feeling. You go to the store, you go grab some groceries, and you come home. The sigh of relief when they see you, it's as if you were never coming back. The dance of joy, the zoomies, the grabbing of the toy.
It's the best feeling. It is the best feeling when you come home and it's like only been 10 minutes. And you're like, oh, you just love to see me. This feels so good.
Have you ever had it where your pet, for example, like, you know, you can be on separate floors, maybe you're taking a nap or something, and then you hear the crying out. They think that you left and they didn't realize you were. I think for them, it's very different when they know you're going and you tell them you're going, they understand. But if they have that month panic and you hear that cry, you're like, oh, and that's where, you know, I think people have that guilt and they're saying, well, maybe then I can't take care of my pet, and maybe, you know, I don't want to have that circumstance. But on the other hand, you know, you're saying having children, pets are not that dissimilar. They're, in some ways, pets are more work. Obviously, in other ways, children are more work.
Yeah.
But if it's getting too hard with a child, you know, most people are not gonna give away their children for adoption. Now, some people, when they do, certainly they have financial circumstances or life circumstances where they choose to put up children for adoption, but they'll certainly, you know, get rid of the pets, you know, 1,000 times quicker than they ever would think of their own child. But why won't the pet be like? For me, Ollie's my daughter. You know, like, I can't imagine ever
Yeah.
leaving her. And,
No.
she needed a doggy dermatologist. We went to the doggy dermatologist, and you know what? I don't tell you how many times we went, how much it costs, but you don't think about it because you find a way, because it's your pet, it's your child, and just to get a reminder to people out there, if you think about during, your life circumstances are changing, and as a professional, there's always a way if you want to. But I know I once had to give up a dog, and I didn't really want to, but I thought my schedule was not allowing for it, and I thought they'd have a better life. It hurts. It hurt for a long time.
For
I
sure.
missed my dog. I wanted him back. And it's something that never leaves you, and once they're gone, they're gone. I think people need to remember that, and certainly as a professional to find a way. But on the other hand, when you do have a good bond with your pet, and you get them trained well and they're in a good behavior, they give you so much happiness, right? Like if you have the worst day in the world as a
Yeah.
professional, let's say everything just went wrong that one day, you see your pet, you're like, and life is good all of a
It's the
sudden.
best feeling.
Yeah.
And I think too, I listen, don't even talk about vet bills, because I always joke with my vet that I should have a VIP membership. We're there so often. But we've been through it all. And I completely understand that for a lot of people, they don't have the disposable income to spend a lot of the money. And the surgeries that we've done have been extensive. And we've had to budget for them, because for us, they're a part of the family. But I completely understand that it's not feasible for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
I think behavioral issues are challenging. Our Frenchie had severe separation anxiety to the point where he almost chewed through a wood door, like when I got home after. So we've been through it all. And I think we've worked on him so much that now if I leave, it was always with me. He's obsessed with me. But when I leave now, he's learned. Like, it has taken years to work through it. And I think there is ways. And sometimes, it's certain people too, like certain dogs and their personalities need certain owners, because they need that alpha, or they need that someone who has that experience. So listen, I get it. And I don't sit here and say, everyone who gives up their dog shouldn't give up their dog. And a lot of times they do it because it's the only option they have, and it gives the dog a chance at a better life, or to keep living their lives. But it's when this first happened, there's so many people who just, it's like you said, it's like a commodity. Oh, I want to get a dog because so-and-so got a dog. I should get a dog, or I should get a cat because so-and-so got a cat. And that's where I think a lot of people get them and don't really realize how much work they are.
If I had to sum up as a professional now, saying, if another professional came to me and they said, okay, I'm an accountant and I have a young family and I'm thinking about getting a dog, I think it'll make our lives a lot better. What I would tell them as a professional then, do not go to the breeder and do not go to look at puppies before doing your research. If I'm going to sum this up in one way, is anything else in your life. If you're going to go buy a house, you're going to go buy a car, you're going to do research. What size do I need? What features do I need? What's going to work well best for us? When the child, when you birth a child, you don't get to choose what the child comes out. You don't get to choose the gender and the height and what their interests are and their personality, but you sure get to do that with dogs. And I tell people, very simple, for a lot of people that it didn't work out for them, you got a big dog, probably a smaller dog would have worked for you, or vice versa. You got a dog because it was shedding. Well, maybe you should have gotten a hypoallergenic dog. An older dog didn't work out. Maybe you should have got a puppy. Maybe you shouldn't have got a puppy. Maybe you should have got an older dog. There's different degrees of what people could look for. But I tell them, sit down, make the list. Like if you're going to go buy a house tomorrow, you're going to go make a list of everything you need in life. And then don't go look at the house before they can meet most or all of your criteria. Do the same thing with the pet. And if you set yourself up that you think this will be the best personality, this will be the best fit for my household, you're going to have a better chance to succeed.
For sure. And I say that to friends of mine all the time who are in the similar industry and busy, is always, they're the best thing. I cannot imagine coming home without them, but they are a lot of work. So be prepared, because a lot of people think it's easy and it's not. So just be prepared, and be prepared that they cost money. That's always, because we've had every surgery you can think of with our dogs. So I always say they cost money. So just be prepared to have to spend money on them.
Get insurance, make a fund that you put away, or do both.
That's what we do.
But some way or the other, because you'll get expenses, sudden the vet bills climb up, the credit card bills climbing, and people are saying, wow, I never budgeted for this. So definitely, it's not just going down to the supermarket and buying a $5 bag of kibble and leaving the dog in the corner and hoping for the best. It doesn't quite work like that. So but on the same token,
I completely agree.
But every professional that I know that has a dog and loves their dog, I think that inspires them to be better professionals. I think that they have a better balanced life. They have more affection. They have more love in their life. They're happier people. And I think that helps them be better at their chosen industry.
I think a dog calms you when you're in a industry where, in a workplace setting or entrepreneur where you're super busy and it's nonstop. Having, for me, kind of shutting off in the evening and sitting on the couch and trying to cuddle with 3 dogs, and it's always challenging, but having that is just, it has this calming effect to it, and it grounds you. And like you said, you just kind of wake up the next day and you're ready to go again, and you get that kind of affection that a dog does that I don't feel a human can necessarily provide.
1,000%, and that's Ollie's been on my lap the whole time, and I can tell you I feel
much too big for my lap, but
so segueing then to our second topic, the way you raise it, for some, if not for a lot of people, a dog is a luxury. It's if you have the disposable income and you have the time and you have the home to open up, it can add a lot to your life. And so for some, that would be considered a luxury. And, that word luxury gets thrown out a lot, I'm a luxury real estate agent. I deal with luxury homes. I'm a luxury salesperson. I deal with luxury cars. And everybody has a very, very different definition of what luxury is to them. It's funny because, one group who are middle class will say, I'm living in luxury, and they'll see somebody upper class and they're like, wow, we feel like paupers. And then people who are living what they think are luxury lifestyles in the upper class compared to Uber lifestyles, it's all about levels at the end of the day. And everything in my life, and everything in life, the way I see it, everything comes down to levels. And to me, luxury is all about levels. So topic number 2, luxury living. So you surround yourself with luxury living. Your occupation is luxury living. If I start off and tell you point blank, luxury living, you have to put down the definition of it. What to you is luxury living?
So hard. To your point, there's different levels, but I think everyone's perception of luxury living is different. So, you have luxury living that we talk about, which is the yachts and the private jets and, all the homes all around the world. But then you have luxury living, like for me, and what we see is our luxury living is having flexibility to travel, having disposable income that if something comes up, we're able, with the dogs, for example, with their surgeries, having the ability to at any point in time say, you know what, today I want to buy that, or I want to go here, and I think I want to buy this investment property. How are we going to make it work? Like for me, that in my mind, do I want a yacht one day? Sure. I mean, who doesn't? Or do I maybe want my own private jet? Sure. But luxury living for me is living day to day and feeling fulfilled, healthy, and having the options that for us, I guess, has always been not being, you still go through financial stresses, but having the options to kind of do things as they come up. And that for me, at least, is what, in my opinion,
for you is luxury.
Yeah.
Whereas for me, it's a little different. So for me, there's good lifestyles, happy lifestyles, and no matter what your income is, no matter what your job is, you can live a balanced life. Like you can go and you can live in a bachelor apartment. It's nice and clean. You buy good, healthy food. You're on a budget. Don't eat out at a lot of restaurants. You do yoga at home, or you go to a yoga studio. You take a trip once a year, maybe. Everybody can do anything they want on a budget, But to me, when I hear the word luxury, to me, that's Jay-Z. To me, that's the Uber yacht, which costs $100,000 a weekend to rent out. It's like the show Billions and Succession, and everybody sporting a $100,000 watch and, a fleet of limos. And, I think of 2 categories of people. They both have that Uber money, right? Where they can literally do anything they want. They can buy whatever they want. They can live wherever they want. And there's
money's not an issue for them at all.
None. But there's the one that live frugally, and they're like, okay, I'm good with my 2,000, 3,000 square foot house. It's 50 years old. I don't renovate. I don't care. I drive my old beater. I don't care. I have the money. I know I can do it if I want to. I don't need that. That doesn't make me happy. And the other people are saying, hey, you live once. So you know what? I'm going to buy that 5,000, 10,000 square foot house, and I'm going to have a fleet of Ferraris, a fleet of watches, and I'm going to travel on private jets, and I'm going to enjoy my life because I have the means to do it, Yeah. And at the end of the day, both are going to end up in the ground one day. Like that's the reality, The only thing for sure in life is death and taxes.
Yeah.
And to the frugal one, I always tell them, like, I hear what you're saying, but what are you working so hard for if you don't get to enjoy that luxury? Not everybody, 1 or 2% of the population, in my estimation, it's 1 or 2% of the population really who get to live that real luxury life. That's the reality.
100%.
98% of the money is in 1 or 2% of the people. That's facts. That's just sad. Maybe I'm off by percentage here and there, but we know pretty much that's it. And when you have the means, but you just don't even want to live that luxurious life because it just doesn't do anything for you. And I'm thinking, how did you work so hard and not want to enjoy it? Because I see this other group of people that when they actually, now the people that pretend that have it, they're people that live beyond their means, and they show the perception of a luxury lifestyle. They're Instagram famous, but they are leveraged beyond their eyeballs. They're so much in debt. They have their house remortgaged several times. They're carrying lines of credits. Everything is done on debts. And no matter how much they earn, and some of them earn very good incomes, don't get me wrong. Like I remember seeing 2 doctors that many years ago, and I thought these guys, they have great incomes, and they're leveraged beyond because they're living the means beyond, and it's amazing.
They're overspending from what they make. Yeah.
So to me, like luxury living is great when you don't feel it. Like, for them to spend $200,000, for some people like to spend $20, but that's very few people. But people watch these shows and they say, I want that too, and then the reality crashes down at some point. And so,
but I think, sorry to interrupt you, but when I watch these shows, so I just recently started watching like here and there, I Am Georgina, which is Cristiano Ronaldo's girlfriend or fiance. And it's a show about their life. And it's the same thing.
Is it a reality show?
It's a reality show. And she picks up the phone and she calls her friends. So you want me to have the yacht, the jet pick you up? We'll go to the yacht in Monaco. And, this is a life that you sit there going, oh, this is crazy. But, I always look back and people don't realize that all these things that you buy don't necessarily truly make you happy. Like they're materialistic things, but in order, and for people to have, for example, someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, to have the money he has, he works for it. It doesn't just come to him. He works a lot. He's, a professional soccer player. He obviously, and his whole life has been committed to playing soccer and to being the best. And there's a lot of pressure there too. So, and that's why I say like luxury living for everyone's a little bit different and it's amazing, but there's also a lot of people sometimes I find look at this and go, oh, I want that life, but they don't necessarily know what it takes to have that life.
Yes.
Because for most people, unless you're born into it, it's a lot, like you're working a lot to be able to afford such things.
To be able to run, let's say 3 houses, just 3 houses, let's say. So let's say you're a rapper and you're a famous rapper. So you're going to keep it small. You're going to have three houses. You're going to have 8 cars and the jet setting lifestyle. To keep those homes up, to pay all those bills, all those expenses, and to maintain the vehicles, for example, it all costs money. Some of the most famous rappers, for example, the stories have come out. You see their incomes. The money is there. I mean, it's very clear the money's there. They have ad endorsements. They have the record labels. And you know what? A lot of it is still show. Those cars are leased. They don't own them. They don't own them.
So it's funny. NBA, there was something that came up about NBA players, for example.
Yes.
They make a ton of money. They spend it. They're showy. But when they actually leave the NBA, and this isn't just NBA, I'm sure it's a lot of sports players, they actually don't have a lot of investments. Like a lot of them, because again, like a lot of people, especially if you come from nothing and now you're making all this money, they don't know, should I buy real estate? Should I put it in stocks? Spend. They just spend. And then all of a sudden when that money stops, it's hard for them because they didn't put away and invest in things to keep money coming in.
GQ, I believe, is the magazine. They have this feature on celebrities, and very often they have athletes, and they show them my first real paycheck. What did I spend it on? So my first million or my first 200,000 or whatever, and it's very consistent. It's jewelry, watches, necklaces, rings, obviously, cars, clothes, all the frivolous stuff is possible in people's minds, right? And the money is gone. Like I've heard of NBA players that, for the first year had to eat mac and cheese the rest of the year because they spent their whole year salary in a span of 2 months because they forgot, oh, I have taxes. Oh, I have my agent. Oh, I have other commitments. And all of a sudden, I bought this person a house and that person a car. And not everybody gets to do that. There was a stat at one point, I don't have the exact one in front of me, but I think it was close to 70 to 80% of NBA players within 5 years of leaving the NBA had no money.
100%. Yeah,
that's
I heard that
alarming.
same thing.
That's alarming. And so, and luxury living will do that to you. And luxury, like we said, can be, it can be a person having a very simple home and just renovating the heck of that home.
Yeah.
And then leasing 2 vehicles, taking, multiple trips a year. And it's at the end of the day, my measure is you have the money coming in every month. Are you spending more than you earn?
Yeah.
So number 1,
100%.
are you able to pay your credit card every month? If you're not able to pay your credit card every month, you're not in luxury living. Okay.
Agreed.
That's out the window. Number 2, has anything on it to savings whatsoever? Have you done RRSP for in Canada, TFSAs, things like that? If you have no savings, credit card debt, yeah, you have a lot of nice stuff, but if you can't afford it, you ain't luxury living then.
Yeah.
You're just living beyond your means, but that's not true luxury. I recall, reading about custom homes and how people, because obviously you and I are in real estate. So I love, seeing all the time the floor plans. I love seeing the diagrams. I love seeing the amenities and the feature sheets. And it's amazing as things go up and up and up. I read before a stat, I think it was last year, the top requested feature in a new custom home is 2 master bedrooms. A his and her
really? That's news. I didn't
master
hear that.
bedroom. So
Kind of
that
smart.
because imagine now, for different lifestyles, different hours. This person works nights, this person works days, this person is in this country, this person's in that country, and they happen to be meeting up. They don't want to be woken up. They don't like their dressing area, touched upon. They like to have their own bathroom. So, and I haven't seen this, but apparently in Uber custom homes, 2 master bedrooms. To me, that's luxury.
Yeah, agreed. And smart if you want your marriage to last.
If you're seeing now, because you're around it all the time, what have you seen as far either custom or just builder standard, but like as the standards are constantly going up, crown molding was yesterday, having
Cove ceilings now.
what kind of ceilings?
Cove ceilings.
Oh yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Elevators, is that a thing?
Private elevators are a thing. Yeah. I would say what I've found to be, so I am selling a luxury condominium right now. And the biggest thing for us has been the lifestyle. So people want convenience. I think more and more, we see like Amazon's big delivery food services, having that convenience and being able to pick up a phone and call someone and they can coordinate reservations for you. They can coordinate getting your car to Florida where you live half the year. Being able to go downstairs and have all the amenities in your building and having that kind of luxury lifestyle of, water service, towel service by your pool, by the gym. Those are the things that I've been finding now that really, in terms of luxury living from a real estate aspect, and especially in condo, is what we're seeing. And that's really what people have been, based on my conversations, looking for.
I have a lot of clients that ask me when I'm reviewing a stash certificate for somebody on a resale condo in Toronto, for example, what am I paying for? I'm paying this monthly amount. What is my amenities? What am I paying for? What is included with it? And you could be living in a 400 or 500 square foot condominium unit, but you're living luxury because you have all those amenities, which is pretty neat. The luxury living came to me because there was a listing that came up recently in my area here at the Bathurst and Steeles area. And it's a $10 million condominium unit. And they have 7 parking spaces privately for the person. They have a 30-person dining room. They have their own private swimming pool with their own separate kitchen, second kitchen in the glassed off area for the private pool. And, I was looking at this unit. I said, the only person I could see living in this unit is Putin. If Putin had a unit in Toronto, this is where he would be living. Like, they had a walk-up marble steps to your bed in the master bedroom with the ceilings you talked about. So it's for $10 million, this is in Canadian dollars here. You can still buy a pretty luxurious house and get a lot of these things, but not everybody wants the snow shovel. Not everybody wants to take care of the roof. And they're saying, I just want to come in and out of my unit. You take care of the rest, by all means.
Yeah. And then for some people, they don't necessarily need, now we're seeing that they don't want that much space either in their condo because they don't want to pay for it. Because really, if you actually think, and I always have this conversation with my clients especially when they're downsizing and they're coming from 6,000, 7,000 square feet, is tell me how many rooms out of your house that you actually use. And when you actually, like, if they're living in 5,000 square feet, for example, 9 out of 10 times they use 2,000, 2,300, maybe 2,500 square feet of the house.
That's it.
So really, if you have all the luxuries of all the amenities and services in the building, so you can use them when you feel, but maybe you don't use them all the time. But then having a home, because you're paying maintenance fees on that square footage, right?
Absolutely.
So having a home that is tailored to what you're looking for, but then having the convenience of, having a caterer's kitchen in a private dining area when you want to have friends over. If you don't want to entertain them at home, you can go downstairs to your party room and do it there. So it's really just, and some people, that's not what they want. Some people want the larger condo, like you're saying, with, with the private pool. It's just like everyone's idea of luxury is different, and it's really just what they are looking for in their lifestyle.
To sum up luxury, before we jump into topic number 3, I'm going to sum up this. I'm going to ask you, because you're in the trenches. So I'm sitting in my office. I get the new purchase agreements. I get the stash certificates. I'm not physically walking through these things, so I'm not sure what's going on. I just know on paper what's there. You're the one that eats, breathes, and sleeps this. So in the luxurious homes, in the luxurious condos, at the end of the day, how many of them percentage-wise would you say are the way you see it on TV? How many of them are flowing with Ferraris and Lambos and Chanel purses and Rollies all over the place? How many times are you going into people's homes and this is actually true versus no, you know what, they're living a very simple life in a luxurious palace?
So it's funny because most of the people that I've been dealing with, if you met them on the street, you probably would never know how much money they have. They have unbelievable amounts of money. They have businesses, they own, they're entrepreneurs. But when you meet them, you wouldn't know it. It's an understatement. They drive a Lexus, they drive, a Mercedes, they drive a Range Rover, nothing crazy. They might have their sports car, but it's really not what you see on TV. Now, do we have, people like that live like that? Bridal Path is a great example. Of course we do. But from what I'm seeing in terms of luxury condominiums, it's a simple understatement where they have the money, they have the means, but they don't flaunt it, I guess is the best way to describe it.
I have found the exact same thing. The people that I meet in my walks of life as a lawyer and just through circles and the real luxury, or they're not living a luxurious life per se, but they have the means, and I would say the best off. You would have no idea. They're wearing like Levi's Gap jeans. They're wearing Reeboks. They're driving around in their Chevy Tahoes. And you'd have no clue that they have 2 dimes to rub together, and yet they own vast real estate. And
all over.
If there's one thing I could say time and time again, the uber wealthy, the real people that are off, they seem to have one thing in common: they own real estate.
Always.
It's a very common denominator, no matter what their walks of life, whatever they did for a living. That I said this in other episodes, that's their seed money, which allowed them to buy property, to then leverage to the next property. They made their fortune off real estate. They didn't make it going to school, getting a degree, and working in their particular field. They use that seed money. The only thing is, the better your job, the more money you have to plant more seeds
to start it out. Exactly.
Yeah. But when I meet people that are, let's say, in their 50s and 60s, and they're high professionals and various degrees and they're very good incomes, and they have one piece of real estate, I say to them, I don't understand this. How? Why? Where did the money go? And they say, oh, it's tied up in stocks and bonds and this. I tell them, you need to find a way to get real estate into your life.
Yeah. It's so funny you say that, because I say all the time, the lifestyle that my husband and I live is because we've bought real estate. I'm born and raised into it, so I always believed in it. I started at a very young age, in my early 20s, and in the 12 years that we've been here, we've built quite a portfolio, and we would not have the luxuries that we have if we didn't buy real estate, in my personal opinion.
Which then segues us into topic number 3, secrets of an entrepreneur. So, it's one level of people that, go and look for a job and they work for somebody. It's another one to say, I'm the one that's going to start a business. I'm going to create a business and I'm going to employ people. Takes a lot of kahunas to start your own business. Obviously, you're taking all the risk. You got to be everything to everybody, right? You are the HR department, the marketing department. You're figuring out how to get clients, how to service them, how to get deals closed, how to get accounting done. You're wearing so many different hats, right? And for the young professional that sits out there right now and saying, I've thought about this for a long time, and I think I'm very good at what I do. And, I could be, a chef, I could be an accountant, I could be an engineer, I could be in consulting for real estate, for example. But I'm employed by somebody. I get my paycheck every 2 weeks. I'm very happy with that. I have safety. I get my bonuses. I have my vacation. Why should I give that up, jump and bet on myself? What is the secret of being an entrepreneur in this day and age?
I think for me, the reason I did it is just to be of change. I wanted to do things differently. I wanted to be able to sit back, and if things went wrong, it's on me. It's my company. And if things went well, it's on me. It's my company. I would say for a lot of people who are thinking about it, and I say this all the time, it is not easy. It is a lot of work. You need to be prepared to spend a lot of time, majority of your day, every day, 7 days a week, building that business. If you don't want to do that, and if you want to have your evenings and you want to have your weekends, then this probably, especially in the beginning, is not for you. There's so much reward to it. I look at the team and like building a team and working with team members and mentoring them in a sense, and seeing how far they've come as well and what they've learned. And I wouldn't, you have to build. I'm a big believer in there's always people behind you. I can't do what I do if I didn't have the people that I have within my company. Yes. And people don't realize that you can't do it all. If you want to grow, you will need to hire staff. It's a huge overhead.
1,000%.
It's a big risk.
You got to really spend money to make money. There's no way around it. You can't do it all yourself.
Yeah, you can't. And I think, I came out of it funding it myself, to just, put away money to do it. And, now we're kind of in, year fast forward to, I guess we're in year 3. And, now you're starting to grow. Now you're seeing it. Like the overhead it's not low. It's a lot. And you're sacrificing. I'm not taking really from my company right now. Like I had mentioned earlier, my income and the things that I've been able to afford are because of the properties that I purchased. And thank God I did that from a young age, because that's kind of been able to help me set up my business. But you spend a lot of time and a lot of money on getting it there, but then you start to see the benefits of it, right? And they do come. It's just you have to be able to put in the time, and you have to have the patience.
1,000%. I can't tell you how many businesses I saw that failed within year 1 or year 2 because they wouldn't put the time in. And I tell them to sacrifice. And I can't tell you when it's going to happen, but one day the light bulb goes off. I have young lawyers that just finished articling, and they tell me, at what point do I make it? At what point, am I legitimate? And I tell them, look, for most lawyers, it's somewhere between years 5 to 10. That's the way it is. You have to grind it out, make very little, eat a lot of crap. And then one day it just comes together for you, but not everybody's prepared to do that, And I've seen young lawyers that had a lot of potential, but they didn't have that entrepreneurial spirit. And they're saying, you know what? I want to go work in-house. That's better for me. I'll go work for a company. So I'm not going to have my own clients. I have one client. It's my company, and I'm their lawyer, and they have me at beck and call 24/7. Yeah. I said, that's fine and all, and maybe you'll have some perks with that, with a company car or something. What happens when management changes, where company's not doing so great or things change and now there's new president, new VP? What's the first thing they want to do? Clear house. Yeah. Because you are the lawyer, you're the trusted right-hand person, that you're the voice. They want their own voice. And now what's going to happen? You got to start over. And the only way that doesn't happen to you is if you're on your own. Yeah. Nobody can fire you except for your clients, It's
true.
So that being said, did you always know, like from a young age, you were going to work for yourself, or is it something you grew into?
No, I always knew. So back in Winnipeg, when I grew up, my father does real estate.
Yes.
And I had always planned, I think I was 10 years old when I dressed as a millionaire real estate agent or something with some feather boa. And I had always planned to be in real estate. So
do you have a picture of that you could share with us at some point?
I'll find one. I have one for
Please,
sure.
Can you tag me on that one when you find it?
It's me sitting on my parents' fireplace with a feather boa for Halloween. So a little bit dramatic if you can't tell, and since I was a child, but Yeah, so I think I always had planned, and I kind of went through the motions. I went through working in management with the restaurant, which I truly believe all my leadership skills came from there. If I didn't have that experience, working with the company that I previously worked for and building the experience there, like everything, in my opinion, is about working hard and experience. You have to gain experience. So, I grinded it out. Even when I was barely making money, I was working until midnight and getting up and answering calls. And I hear it all the time when people say, oh, this is the one that drives me crazy, and it happens all the time, is, well, I don't make money like you. Well, I wasn't always here.
It didn't fall from the sky.
No, I did
Nobody's
all
just
these
handing
things.
it out to you.
I did all these things well
Right.
before I was making money. And that is why I'm here now, is because I did all these things and didn't look at things like that and say, well, I don't make money, so I shouldn't have to put in the time. And I think that's where I find, and I always say this to my team, is grind it out, put in the time, because you will see the benefits. If you work hard, you will see the benefits. And I think that was kind of where I always had planned to go off and do something on my own. I actually thought I would do it a lot earlier, to be honest, when I first moved. But I wanted to make sure that everything was set up, and I wanted to be comfortable with me being on my own, right? And being able to hire and being able to figure out exactly what I want to do and how do I want to differentiate my business in the marketplace. And that was the biggest thing. So that kind of took some time. And that's why the first year I didn't hire anyone. It was just me, because I wanted to get my feet wet and I wanted to understand, what do I want to do differently? What do I like? What do I don't like about the way things are being done, so that I could change that for our company.
Amazing. Well, a big thing you said that resonated with me was, do you want to work 24/7? Do you actually put the time into it? And it's funny because I've been working since I was 13, and I was working at supermarkets, and I went to go work at the Gap and Roots, and when I had those jobs, I was treating it like my own business. Like I gave a shit. Like I was working produce in the supermarket, and I ran it like it's my own department, And I remember my awakening moment was when I was a young lawyer and I was an associate, and we had to give a presentation before our whole firm. It was a smallish type firm. And all the lawyers were in the room, in a boardroom, and we had to present like Dragon's Den and saying how we're going to make the firm better, how we're going to make our practice better, and how we're going to make our department better. And I went up there and I said, the way to make this department better is to put me in charge of the department. I would do a way better job. I'm here 24/7. The clients love me. This is the infrastructure I put into it. And remember, my boss is sitting right across from me, right? He was not very impressed with my presentation, so to speak. But I was being honest,
Yeah.
And I thought about this, and it bugged me because when I finished my presentation, I said, I'm saying this now. Are you going to come up here and present to us what your vision for us is? So I've given it to you now, but they didn't, and that bugged me. And I said to myself, if I'm going to be a leader one day, I want to tell my team the vision. I want to hear what they have to say. I want to hear from every single person, not just the lawyers. I want to hear from every single person in the office. What can we do better? How can we improve ourselves? How can we improve the firm? How can we grow our own careers? And then I want to present to them, and I want to give to them the vision of it, and that to me is true collaboration. That's true leadership. And that's why I said, if I'm going to do this, I think I'm better off doing it myself, But what I learned, like you said, like I have a great partner and David Corman, and, I couldn't do this without him, our collaborative efforts, because we're so different, but you bring different energies. Then 100%. You figure out what are the missing needs, what are the departments, what kind of skill sets you need. And then you find those people, a lot of positions are born from need at the end of the day. And at the end, you have a choice to make. Either you're going to do it all yourself, or you're going to find those people, and you find the right people that take the stress off of you, and then they can leave you to doing other things. You'll be that much more productive. But that's one of the things I find from serial entrepreneurs is they're saying, I do everything myself. I'm every single department. I don't trust anybody. I don't want anybody else. I don't want them to steal my secrets. I don't want this. I don't want that. I tell them, well, then you're either never going to grow, or you're never going to have a balanced life. So you got all this money, but you're doing your own accounting at 11:30 at night every single day. That's not living to me. I don't get it.
I think as a leader, you need to be able to, give, like, you want other people to succeed. Like I always say, to be successful, I don't want to be successful by myself. In my opinion, nothing about that excites me. I want my team to do well. I want to see people grow. I want to give them the opportunity if they want it. And if they want to grab it, and if they want to work hard for it, I want them to have that opportunity. And I say it all the time, like my COO, she's helped me grow this business. People don't realize, but behind the scenes, she's the boss. Like, don't kid yourself. Like, I would not be able to do the things that I do if I didn't have her, because my weaknesses are her strengths and my strengths are her weaknesses. So we work really well together. And I think as an entrepreneur, a true entrepreneur, you need to be able to recognize your weaknesses. You need to know that you cannot do everything. You are not perfect. No one is perfect. And there's going to be people who are better than you. And you need to be able to acknowledge that. We do sit down. So we're trying to start quarterly, but at the end of the year, we always do them, where we sit down and tell the team, these are some amazing things that you did this year that we're really proud of. Do you have feedback for us as a company? What could we do better?
Love it. So you'll notice right now, with life and technology, that things kind of come up, and we went to the backup camera. So the camera decided near the end that it just didn't want to function right now. So that's why we always keep a backup on hand. And so thank you. You know what? This is part of the production team and us learning on the chosen life here, because we want to be able to get the best quality out to people. So Cara, thank you very much for your patience there.
No problem.
On our last podcast, it was funny because we were setting up the production for the guest, and we weren't getting the right sound. So we started the recording, and then we had to pause it, and he was in his living room, and all of a sudden he was in his bedroom the next second. So we're like, okay, I guess we're now taping in your bedroom then. So we're still in the same location. I'm still the chosen lawyer. You're still Cara, but yes, the camera has just changed. So we were finishing off talking about entrepreneurship and talking about having the right team in place and being able to invest in your team and empower your team, because at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, that will bring you farther ahead. And one point I was going to make that we didn't raise, but it's all starts with the business plan, right? So people wanting to, I hear this all the time. I want to be my own boss. I want to make my own money. I'm ready to go. It's so easy, you just go do it. Well, I tell them, what's your business plan? What's your course of action? What's your month-to-month plan? What's your 1-year plan, your 5-year plan? If you don't have all these sets of plans and the steps and everything else, it ain't going to happen. What do you think?
I completely agree. So I actually, every week at the start of a week, will do kind of a journal entry, and I do my short-term goals. So what I'm looking for in that week or in that month, I do my 1 year, I do my 2 year, and I do my 5 year. And I've done that since I was young, and I'm very goal oriented. And it's funny because I believe if you manifest things, and I know people talk about this all the time, but if you're positive, one, I think positivity is crucial in what we do. And even when you're knocked down, to be able to have a positive mentality to come out of it. But to focus on what is important to you. And, if I do that every week, it reminds me of what are my goals? Where do I want to grow? What do I want to do? And it's funny because I actually last week was going through kind of my previous stuff that I did last year in 2021. And I started checking off all the things that I had put as goals that I had done. And so I think it's also important not only to write them down, but to go back to them to see, because that for me was, I didn't realize, I actually ended up accomplishing a lot of what I was looking to do. But I'm a very big believer of goal, like you said, short-term, long-term. And I think I encourage my team members to do it as well. I think it's so important, and really just being positive and manifesting, like if you really want something, just constantly talk about it. What do you need to do to make it happen? And it can very well happen.
Everything you're saying right now resonates with me completely. I love it. I can tell you, I'm running through successful entrepreneurs in my mind that I've met over the course of my life, and they're all positive thinkers. They're all hardworking. They don't take no for an answer. They believe in themselves. They bet on themselves. They all have a game plan. They're all ready to have a plan B, plan C. They have the steps. They have the team. They have their infrastructure in place. It's not that it's a guarantee they're going to succeed, but they minimize the risk of failure. They put so much into it in setting it up that they know what's going to happen. They know when to steer the course, and you can only do it through trial and error.
And I think, to your point, risk, that's the biggest thing too, is a lot of people are scared to take risks. But in order to be an entrepreneur, in order to start your own thing, you cannot be scared to take a risk. And, walking away from a company where I did extremely well, and I was, very comfortable. It was a huge risk, but kind of sitting back going, I'm not scared, because what is the worst case? And in my mind, the worst case was, okay, I'll go back to working with a company like that again, or honestly, worst case, I'll start bartending or serving. It's like, that's never scared me. So I think having to be, not to be scared of risk is a big one, because, there's challenges. I love to be challenged, and that's kind of what I thrive on. And so throughout owning a business, you're constantly being challenged every day on different things.
I would ask people at the end of the day, when they're hearing this, if you're thinking about being an entrepreneur, if you're hearing Cara's story and you're saying that resonates with me, I think I could see myself taking that leap. Ask yourself, when you wake up day to day, you go to sleep at night, are you happy? Are you excited to go do what you're doing for a living? Do you feel fulfilled? Do you feel that you're lacking? Do you want to be able to do it differently? Do you think there's a better product, there's a better service out there that you can do it differently? Do you feel like you want to take that on and you want to have control of your life and your destiny? If you say yes to those things, then entrepreneurship is probably to you. Yeah. And I can also say, Cara, that having mentors, having the right people that have succeeded in it. Like, it's funny, like people asking for advice all the time, people, but these people have no experience in the arenas that they're asking. Like asking somebody about cars that has no idea about cars, asking somebody an idea about their career but has never functioned in their career. I tell them that's ludicrous. If you're gonna go ask somebody that you can trust, that has done it, understands it, and can give you tangible advice. Going to the so-called experts that have no idea about that field, to me, feels very foolish. And how many people have chosen not to take a risk based on the advice of their trusted person who really had no clue for themselves? And even somebody would tell them, yeah, go ahead, take that risk. That seems like the greatest idea ever, but they would never go do it themselves,
Yeah.
I trust most the people, if I want to go do something, that they've done it themselves. They understand what I'm talking about. Good. They know the path. And I can emulate them, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's all been done.
Yeah.
So the formulas are out there. Just find the right people, ask them. And a lot of people, it's funny though, they think that, oh, this person is worth so much money, or they have such a high job, they'll never want to talk to me. It's amazing how many of them will say, if you write to them and say, I'm a young person starting off in this career and I'm really impressed with what you did, can I talk to you for 10 minutes and just pick your brain a little bit? They'd love to do it. They'd love to give back.
I would say there's been quite a few mentors throughout my life to get to this point that I wouldn't be here without them. And I was that annoying person that constantly bugged them when we'd be in meetings or stuff. But they took me, they took the time to even just, it's not even about asking them questions. It's just about talking through stuff, and they make your mind go, and they invent that, like that wheel gets going, and you leave that meeting and you're just flowing with creativity and ideas. And for me, though, like, I'm so grateful for those people, because they're constantly challenging me to think outside the box, to, think of different concepts, different ideas. And I think it's important. And I think leadership is, if you're someone who is an entrepreneur and you're in a role, you have to give back. And you want, again, the people, at least that I surround myself with, want others to succeed. And I think that's so important, because you're not successful if you're the only one and everyone else around you is miserable and they're not happy and they're not succeeding. I think that's so important. And you're never, even in a business, like I just hired a leadership coach. I did leadership back when I was in the restaurant, and I haven't actually been coached now for a while. And I think it's important. I think it's worth my time to invest in how can I do better? How can I talk about different scenarios? Because again, I'm not perfect. So what is your advice? And my leadership coach gives me advice. And as my company is growing, I'm also growing as a person. We're constantly growing as people. Yes. So to have someone to kind of help guide you, I think is so important.
I love it. Love it. And it's funny, I have a very good friend of mine, the most successful person I know, a self-made person from nothing, and done very well in their respective careers. And they just hired a leadership coach. They're paying a lot of money for this leadership coach, because they're saying, what, I don't think I have everything, and I can always get better. And kudos, because I think at the point that you think you know everything, I think you're done. I think at the point that you think you know nothing and there's always room to grow, I think that's when you will.
And I think to recognize, I always say, to be able to, a true entrepreneur and a successful person recognizes they have weaknesses. We are not perfect. We're all human. There's people that were within my company that are far better at certain things than I am. And there's things that I'm far better than they are. So to be able to recognize those weaknesses and know, okay, how can I grow? How can I, create those into strengths? And what else can I do that I'm strong at that I can get better at?
Love it. So it's positive. It's positive thinking, game planning, mentoring, it's budgeting. There's so many components of it. So we've given out the secret formula, the secret sauce. I just hope the people will take it, and the ones that are thinking about going into entrepreneurship, that they will consider it.
Yeah, agreed.
So, Cara, we've gone a little bit over on time today, but thank you for your patience again with the technology.
No problem. Thank you for having me. It's been fantastic talking with you.
Oh, I appreciate it very much. When you and I talked about the topics, you're very excited, and I'm glad because I do a little bit of research on quite a bit of research on everybody that comes in, and I try to figure out where we're going to go with it, and I try to think of topics that I know I ask people are looking for, and again, we want to give people the best life possible. So thank you for allowing us to pick your brain today and hearing your story.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. It's been a great time.
So people looking for you now, they're saying, when they're watching it, they are going to see your name and your handle for Hirsch and Associates. People wanting to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to contact you, Cara?
Their best way will be either through our Instagram page, or if they want to email info@Hirsch Associates, and my team will make sure it's directed to me. But we're pretty hands-on with emails and Instagram. So if you want to reach out, and like you said, I am always for coffees, calls. I have people that call all the time that say, I'm thinking about getting into the industry. What's your advice? I love to talk real estate. I love to talk about being successful, buying in real estate. So I am always here.
Any aspect of anything you've heard today, you want to pick her brain, you know where to find her. Cara's here and she's ready to talk to you.
Awesome.
Amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for taking time for us today, Cara. Very much appreciated. And before we sign off, everybody does it. So we're going to raise our arms like this.
Oh my gosh. Well, yes. I have a sweater on. Good thing.
All good. And we say, keep living the chosen life.
Keep living the chosen life.
Thank you, Cara.
Thank you. Okay. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Bye.
Wait a minute. Are we still running? Well, I know you already hit the subscribe button, the like button to say how much you love this episode, and the notification bell so you get notified of all our future episodes. But you still feel like you want more. Well, when you're ready to contact the chosen lawyers at Kormans LLP, we are here to help you. Whether you're looking to close a real estate transaction, a refinance, a corporate commercial matter like a lease, a shareholder agreement, an incorporation, you need a will or power of attorney prepared, a family law matter comes up, contact the chosen lawyers. We are here for you. So how do you get in touch with us? It's really simple. You go onto our website, go to kormans.ca, that's KORMANS.ca, fill out the contact form, and a chosen lawyer will get in touch with you. So it's very easy. We look forward to seeing you very soon. And thank you very much for watching The Chosen Life. We'll see you back very shortly.